information ain't disinformation, that's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information, get information. With the pseudo killer army hunting pseudo, cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like telescope. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good juju chillin', why you wanna go way bad juju up? Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa world plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks. Cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, ayy.
We're not attacking individuals, we're attacking the information and attacking the methodology. This is long time coming right here. Let them know that we right there, running neck and neck with all other communities. We will not be left behind.
Black African power. Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie. Defeats a disorganized truth. Every time. Woo-hoo-wee. Man, y'all already know what it is, man. It's God killing the house. And I come to do what I got to do, and we're going to do what I got to do. I'm standing tall. I'm standing strong. Hey, y'all know what it is, man. Bobby banging this bitch. What's good, family? Man, what it do? What it do? What it do? Man, did the people come in the building, man? Pick up the Mac, Rob, man. Pseudo Killer Official, man. Fonte, man. Official. What's good? Who else we got in here? Good juju, bad juju, all day, every day. Man, if you're in the server, man, the link is in the server, man. Y'all can jump on. I see you, Port City, African Senate Consciousness. Man, you know our names carry a lot of weight on who we are and what we do and how we do it. I see the stars that came out tonight, man. I see you 5, man. Kareem Dreyer, what it do? What it do? Man, I appreciate all the support, man. Y'all know we having, serious event. Y'all got to make sure y'all be there Friday, 6:30, man. Be there sharp, man. Man, y'all know this episode is brought to you by Conscious Ingenuity, building character, confidence, capability through STEM. Our program, Conscious Ingenuity, is a K-8 program that utilizes STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, agriculture, and mathematics to build character, confidence, and capabilities. The aim of the program is to cultivate a new generation of people who value and operate with high character, as well as processes confidence in self, family, and community. Participants will also acquire capabilities in areas of STEAM that can be used to improve the world around them. As you improve yourself, you improve your family. And as you improve your family, you improve your community. And as you improve your community, you improve your nation. And as you improve your nation, you improve the world. One baby at a time, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Appreciate all the support in the building, man. And we getting it in because that's what we got to do around here, man. Got to keep bringing that science, man. Got to keep bringing the edge to it, man, because it is what it is. They always coming, yo, and we shooting them down, breaking them down. Also, the episode is brought to you by
Hi, I'm J.O. Waters, and I'm the creator of the Oasis for Teachers YouTube channel. I create content for teachers who are feeling burnt out and need a refreshing and rejuvenating. On my channel, you'll find self-care tips, inspiration, and professional development. So if you're feeling burnt out as a teacher, please come and join us.
In this game of shadows, I won't hide.
Man, y'all know it's gonna be a powerful event this Friday, man. Be there or be square, man. Dr. Cater, Samaka Cater.
And I'm just trying to get an idea from what the questions I'm hearing is, I mean, what would you define then as an African?
I don't define an African or the African. There is a matrix of variability that constitutes a description of an African reality. Very different notion. The moment you start defining things with narrow terms and in particular ways, and a non-scientific, for something that's as fluid as this, is the moment that you will get into trouble, because then you're going to be forced to explain things, like I said, with typological methods or deductive methods when they don't fit. Okay?
Yeah, that's gonna be a powerful thing, man. I think it takes the community, to heights that we need to stay at. Gives you a chance to delve into understanding how a expert say his thing and do his thing. You're gonna get a chance to see the world through anthropology, through the lenses of this great African American teacher, man. I've had, the pleasure to be able to have discourse with him, throw my ideas at him, hear his ideas, read his work. Brilliant, brilliant brother, man. Glad to have him on the show, man. And I appreciate those who are buying tickets, man. That's love right there. And we're gonna keep this thing rocking and jamming. So it's very, very important, man. So let's get some people in the building before we get started, man. I see you, brother Marco. What's good? Book of Al Jahid. You know what it is, man. Man, I thought I sent. Let me see. Let me see here. Let me see here. What else we got? 1 second, man. Let me get the thing in here that the people come on up in here, man. We talk some science, open conversation. We doing our thing, man. Get ready these tickets. Selling like hotcakes. What we doing? What we doing? Be on for about an hour and a half, man. My daughter coming in town. Graduated from college. Yeah, I'm just saying I'm fortunate. All right, so that's 3. 3 down, 2 to go. All right, talking about graduating from college. All right. My twins. All right, got 2 daughters in school. 1 is graduating. Okay, and that's important. All right, get my son ready to go to school. See what he want to do. So we want to keep adding intelligent people into the world, right? And so they see the world through their eyes, but first they see it through your eyes. And I've always promoted the same thing I promote to y'all. I ain't gonna be a person to say one thing to y'all and say another thing to my kids. Not gonna do it. I think the primary difference between the way I treated the crowd, right, and the people that chose to follow me was that I'm pushing atheism as a way to see clear of all the bull crap that has fenced us in the Black community. I see it to be a way out. I see it to be a way to slow down the religious flavor that runs serious through the African American community, right? Not trying to tear down the institution, okay? Because those institutions been there for African people since they came to America. We built those institutions based off of the way we like to think. So that's important, but you got to put out in the world what you want to see in the world. And like I said, the primary difference was I gave my kids just the education. They could pick and choose whether they wanted to be a Nation of Islam, whether they wanted to be a Black Hebrew Israelite, whether they wanted to be a Christian, you know, whether they want to be, whatever the hell they Jehovah's Witness. Look, the hell you want to be. All right. But I'm going to give you the education on it. And then you choose. I'm not going to tell you what to be and what not to be. All right. I think that's important because when you force them to be something in particular, they push back like hell. Be the exact opposite of what you're trying to push. You should be the Black power. You should be this. So I didn't do that. I let them think. I get what I did was I laid the foundation of science is what I did. That's what the hell I did. All right. Laid the foundation. Once you lay that foundation, they ask you a damn question about the sun or ask you a question where the hell babies come from, right? You take them to science. You don't take them to the church and the mythology. Matter of fact, you do both. You say this is the scientific explanation of how you come to be in the womb, right? Scientific explanation of how the sun was formed. Here's your religious understanding of how the sun came to be and how humans are born. And you take them through every culture. You take them through African culture, South American culture. You make them run around the world so they can run around the world and they mind. You make them do that. All right, you give them that. Right now, actually, so it's more than one way to come. The earth, I said, yes, is based off of people cultural containers and ideas and concepts is the way they seen how human beings came to be and how the cosmos came to be. Cultural understanding of their worldview and their world. And then we talked about that. We had those conversations and we still had these conversations, right? So, yeah, we got 27,000 people in the building. Where the hell y'all at? Where you at? All right, let me drop this link right here. Let me see. All right. Get the people going. Get them going. Man. All right. Shoot. All right, got a link right there. Let's go. All right. Okay. So I think about something. And I like to use, my experience of going through trying to get to this point to break down the barriers of thinking things like the white man's science, the celebration of Blackness, the need for it. Is it a need? If it's not, and y'all just pay attention. It's going to be a little counterintuitive. All right. How did I get trapped up in Blackness? Right? Street Sufi was good.
What down, bro? What's going on with you?
God send Gozy. What it do? What it do? What it do?
Peace and love, man. Alhamdulillah. Salam alaikum. Uja
Salami
salam.
and bacon. Salami
How
and
y'all,
bacon.
how y'all doing, man? I'm trying to get through Ramadan Mubarak. To all the people out there and all the panel. How y'all doing? Hoping
You see
everything well.
Ramadan and peanut butter. Boy, you crazy, boy.
You funny, man. What's going on with you? What's going on with you, though?
I'm great. I wanna kind of tell them. I wanna making a statement here. It's gonna be counterintuitive. So I wanted to talk about how I got in this thing and how I fought for Blackness. And what ended up happening is this. And so when you come out of Christianity, okay, and you start to fight for Blackness, right? Because that's what it was. It made me open to information, but it made me susceptible susceptible to wild information because I was focused on the blackness. You say, well, how could that be? You know, we blacking out, we proud. Of course we are. But when you're trying to figure out who you are and you're following patterns that colonization gave you, it was the colonists that said you were Negro, right? Black, okay? Remember, they named themselves black too. I don't think we really pay attention to that, right? And the naming themselves white in their culture, right? They gave glory to things that was white. They actually did that. You know, the gods was white, right? You see the depictions. The angels was white. Purity, white as snow. It was all white. When you came to the black, it was very negative connotations to it. Dirty, filthy, ugly, devil, right? All right, dealing with blackness. And so this is the environment that African people being enslaved from the continent had to get into when they called them Negroes. They said you were subpar amongst humans because of your lips and because of the color of your skin, the blackness, right? Okay. And so for a group of people to call themselves, to say that they're black and they're proud, now catch this, for a group of people to say, yo, blackness, right? Celebrate the blackness, there has to be a traumatic event to make you need to glorify the color of your skin. There has to be a traumatic event to make you glorify the size of your lips. There has to be a situation that occurred in the culture to a group of people that would make you fight back against thinking you were ugly because of your lips and the type of hair you had and the type of skin you had. So what was that traumatic event? It was called slavery. So now we got the stage for it, for our blackness. Our blackness is basically steeped in our enslavement and our wanting to fight to say that, wait a minute, although you say my blackness is evil and ugly and I'm subpar human, despite all that, despite the colonization that you put in my mind, I am black and I'm proud. Now, this starts to occur in the 60s, but in the 50s, though, you could go to church and you would have a picture of that Jesus we talked about on the other show. That white Jesus in churches, your most sacred places, you had the white Jesus. Okay? So as you fought away from that, you wanted to blackenize the white Jesus. Still dangerous now. Listen to what I'm saying. So you blackenize the white Jesus, absolutely changed nothing, right? You because you're actually blackenizing their culture, because that's their culture. Christianity is a culture container of ideas formalized by Europeans. It's not hard to figure that out. That's what Christianity is. We're not talking about the Judeans. We're not talking about the Palestinians. We're talking about when they start to make the New Testament, okay, where Hebrews are educated in 3 generations and they write that New Testament and they start to bring forth Greek ideas. Hebrew people bringing forth Greek ideas in the New Testament is right there. The Logos is just one example. Okay? Bet. So it's white man Christianity. You get slick African Americans start talking about some ancient Christianity. Well, I'm telling you what my grandmother and them got. They got the white man Christianity, the Catholic Church variety, Constantine, where they codify the books. How does this tie into blackness? Well, the blackness was actually you being enslaved, right? Being in a condition that would make you have to fight back against your skin color being inferior, right? And so when the Black Power movements come, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm proud, right? Throw the fists up. Black berets, you know what I'm saying? You wear that because you're proud of it. The bush, I'm proud of my naturalness. Yeah, because you're trying to slow down the conditioning that was pushed on you. But this is the point, though. Now, once you get proud of your blackness, it only take you farther. It don't take you no farther than the shore. Yeah, you can't take your blackness back to Africa. You say, well, why can't I? Because you wasn't black until they came and got you and brought you over here. That's when you became a Negro. That's when you became a nigger, right? When they enslaved you and brought you over here. When you was in your environment, you wasn't black and you wasn't sure in hell one a Negro, and the big lips and the peppercorn hair was not the standard or the quote unquote phenotype of an African. That's just one group of Africans may have looked like that. So if you're trying to get back to where you claim you thought you came from, this is going to be kind of counterintuitive. You would have to lose the damn blackness. You would have to lose the damn blackness because the blackness actually came from colonialism. It actually was slavery. It was the culture that slavery born. And I'm saying right now, I'm black and I'm proud. Can you understand that? The trick is to learn your ancestral. So how did the ancestors see the world? They didn't see it through blackness. When you say that, right? And we're going to get into it. When you say the ancestors was promoting their blackness, you're actually putting African-American culture that came through colonialism on a bunch of ancient people that would never even known that shit. Simple as that. That wasn't important, the color of your damn skin. Europeans did that when they named themselves white, and they put the white in hierarchy here, and they put the black right here. Now, I can understand African-Americans fighting for it, and I can understand that the African-Americans built a culture that's so serious that other Africans and other people of color around the world, they gravitated to it because it's slick. You don't get no more slicker than the African-Americans. Hip-hop, all that, black culture, right, but it only take you to the shores. And I'm certain of this because you can listen to John Henrik Clarke and them and be like, yo, okay, enough of the damn blackness. So what's up, Ngozi? What to do, bro? Talk to us, man. Open mic, what you got?
Hey. No, I think everything you said. Could you hear me clear? Could you hear me clear?
Shoot, boy. I don't know. You must have got a brand new mic. I don't know how you did it. So I said I ain't doing no more shows. You get that motherfucker.
Everything you said is on point. We don't become black until colonization. You know, the first people to be called black on the continent was the people of Sudan. They referred to them as Bilal el Sudan, which meant land of the blacks. They wasn't black until somebody else that was non-black came in contact with them. Then you have the Portuguese that come in the continent. And when they're going through what they're going through with the people in Angola and certain regions of Cameroon, they're called Negro, which means black. When you get into the land Nigeria, we know about the Tuaregs or the Sahara or the Sahel or in Niger talked about the Black River, but later on they made it an overall national thing for the whole country, which meant nigger land. Nigeria, same thing. Then you come to America, and then you get from negro to nigger and then we turned this to something cool now, which is nigger. So in order for you to find yourself, you do have to go through this thing called black and understand colonization, decolonize yourself, and find the ethnic groups that you come from that makes you who you are as a so-called black person, right? What is the population that's called black? Who did they refer to as black? What we don't fully understand is the complete totalness of the African, because all Africans are not black or the full spectrum of matrix of what an African is. There's not a homogeneous look. There's not a homogeneous culture. There are different cultures, different ethnic groups, and different looks to a true African. So there is no standard to a true African. And ultimately, from a real scientific angle, of whether you're dealing with biology or just dealing with simple dermatology, which is in the field of all that, you learn that there is no such thing as a black person when you understand eomelanin, pheomelanin, and neuromelanin, and how melanin expresses itself, right? If we're dealing with how pigmentation works and how melanocytes extract itself, and we understand certain mutations, MUC7 and different traits, but why we look the way we look as so-called black people. So you got to go through all of that, get in the field of science, and understand that this black thing in North America is a political thing. It's social constructive. The whole idea of race is all social construct. It's all the social construct. But the labeling or the name is black. It's not a scientific thing. It's more of a political thing that we had to stand for, because when our identities was taken from us, we lost our connection to the Yoruba. We lost our connection to the Fulani. We lost our connection to the Mandinka. We lost our connection to the Malinke and the different groups, or the Tikar or the Bimilike, or the different groups that we come from. And all we had to deal with, and all we had was this thing called black, because that's all we was called. We was called nigger or negro since we got on the boat, or since we were kidnapped. So once we lost that and we lost our ethnic groups and we lost our identity and we lost our languages, we created our own vernacular English, which is called AABE, African American Vernacular English. We went through our own sense of creolization in the New World, and all we had to represent one another is our black, because in America, America does not care about what ethnic group you come from. America bases its standard of who you are based off what you look like, based off what it is. So when they looked at the Nigerian, when they looked at the person from Senegal, when they didn't care about none of that. They just seen niggers. There was plenty of Fulani prince and people that was important, that lived in, that was high ranked, that was kidnapped, that was in Alabama and Carolina and different parts, if you look it up, who was writing in Arabic, who were black, and they didn't give a damn about the history of these people, or who they come from, because they just seen them as black. So black to us is something totally different. And we go through these phases. One thing we got to realize is that the white boy, or whatever you want to call these people, pink people, whatever, these people didn't even have a full understanding of Christianity when they became Protestants. So the Christianity that we got, when the Roman Catholics took over Christianity and became a main institution for Europe, the people from that's partly our ancestors, the Northwestern Europeans, whether you're African American, you have some Irish or British in you or whatever, they had their own variant of, but the Irish is highly Catholic, but the British, when they started to go through the politics, they had their own thing when they become Protestants and they branch off. But even them, they didn't have the full understanding of Christianity. Not even the Roman Catholic. When you study the Orthodox Eastern churches in the Middle East and what happened and how they took over and how many scriptures rejected, even when they said that the descendants of Cain was cursed with blackened skin, and that was used as a tool to enslave people based off what they looked like, they didn't really have a full understanding of Christianity, because Christianity is a Middle Eastern religion. It belongs to the Mediterranean portion of the Middle East, which is the Levant. It was pervertified and corrupted once it went into the mainland Rome, and then later on you got these different sects. So when they converted us into it, or forced us into it, we know that the Portuguese was Catholic, we know that the Spaniards was Catholic, but the Protestants in the portion of this part of America, when the British take over and take it from the Spanish, you start to realize that what we got was wrong, because their whole idea, all we knew was black Africans. We didn't know the difference, because we knew our idea of Africa was based off white people's standards, right? What I mean, I'm just being honest.
Oh, hit it again, yo. Hit that again. Say that again, yo.
Our idea of what Africa is was based off white people's standards and their limitation of what they knew. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at things like, this is what creates the corruption of Ham and Shem and all this bullshit that you see in the biblical narrative. We say Ham was a black man. We say because Ham was in Egypt, that represent black people. So our first introduction outside of slavery, when we disconnected from the continent, our first introduction to blackness was the idea of Egypt being black, not fully understanding what Egypt is, but it's from a biblical narrative of Egypt when we say that the Egyptians are black, not just a real biblical narrative, but a corrupt, misinformed biblical narrative of what black is, because the white boy didn't even fully understand the Mediterranean world, especially the groups of people that we come from at that time who was fighting against the Mediterranean world, the Spanish and the Portuguese. Remember, the British took over the ports and conquered them and beat them. So this is a whole nother standard. So what I'm trying to say is, we had a model of Africa based off the misinformed white people, and we still do. So what I'm saying is that when we say that the Egyptians are not black, or they never was black, it should not be a problem, because they were not black Africans. They were not. We talking about human beings had the longest run in Africa. We're talking about 315,000 years as modern anatomically correct humans. Then we're talking about rapid mutations, and multiple mutations become fully modern anatomically correct human in East Africa, going at 230,000 years. And we had another longer run from our earlier predecessors that made way for the earliest phases of Homo sapiens, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and these different stages become before what we become. So black is not in the vector of what should be considered a true African, because human beings had a long run. So you have multiple ethnic groups, multiple kingdoms, multiple things going on in the continent to tell a whole story of what the true African is, because the true African is a human story, and all humans are ultimately African. We ain't know but savannah apes, naked savannah apes. It doesn't matter what you look like, So
Right.
we just got to get out of the politics or the misinformed information and get out of the outdated stuff. Because when we hear Dr. Ben and Dr. Clarke, they played their role. But we have to understand that these brothers and sisters came on the front line to oppose racist white supremacy at the time when it was objective and we can see it on the surface. How do we combat the white man? The white man is putting out what he want to put out. The first Egyptologists were white people. And even some of that was corrupt. So we have to come out, even if everything that we said wasn't true. We had to exaggerate points to get exaggerate things to get points across, so we can have a place in the world to say, "Hey, I'm black and I'm proud." That was part of what we had to do, you know. But now we have a clear understanding, and now we can say that this was wrong and this was wrong, and we have a better understanding of what we should be saying when it comes to information now. You know. So
that's deep right there. I want to play John Henrik Clarke and see what he got to say about the blackness. And see, they'll get this confused and think that that the statements that were made in the first 35 minutes of the show is saying that we're not black and proud. I'm fucking black and I'm proud. I'm just saying being black and I'm proud, there's a shared experience with that. That was our way of fighting colonial mechanisms that had corrupted our mind with the wildness. And so we wanted to, we believed we was black based off what they was telling us. You talked about the early Egyptologists, the early map makers, the early European colonial explorers, right? They called it the dark continent because it was basically unexplored. Okay. And they brought their terminology with them. All right. So first talked about white people, right? We do the simple thing. Well, who the hell is white people? So it's right here. It's a description of a population as white. It's reference to their skin color. It's occasionally found in what? Greco-Roman, okay, ethnography, and other ancient medieval sources. But these societies did not have any notion of a white race or pan-European identity. Important here. Did not have any notion of a white race or pan-European identity. The term white race or white people, defined by their skin, light skin, amongst other physical characteristics, entered the major European languages. This is, look, do your own research. Entered the major European languages in the latter 17th century. I think that's important to know.
that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
I
That's
think
right.
you need to let's do this right. It say when the concept of a unified white, okay, achieved greater acceptance in Europe in the context of racialized slavery and social status in the European colonies, it says scholarship on race distinguishes the modern concept from pre-modern descriptions, which focused on physical complexions rather than the idea of race. Prior to the modern era, no European peoples regarded themselves as white. Instead, they defined their identity in terms of their religion, ancestry, ethnicity, and nationality. What are we talking about? Contemporary
That's right.
anthropologists and other scientists, while recognizing the reality of biological variation between different human populations, regard the concept of a unified, distinguishable white race as a social construct with no scientific basis. See, now we're cooking with hot grease.
Yeah. Ultimately, there is no white people and there is no black people. It doesn't make sense. From a political angle, yes, we understand what white nationalism or what was created. We understand that Europe was brought to the New World because this country it was colonized. So Europe was brought to the New World. When you go to Latin America, you see remnants of Spain, and the main basis is the Catholic Church. You go to the northern portion, you can see the connection with the UK and other portions of northwestern Europe. So they brought Europe to the New World. But the idea of white, or it's an idea, but white itself is not real. There is no white people. And if you go back to Greece, the Greeks called the northern Europeans or the people in northern Europe, they called them blondes. And the people south, they had their own term. They said we are not blonde like those of the north, and we are not too dark like those of the south or those people in certain portions of Africa. They had their own standards of what they were saying at the time. You know,
What's good with it? What's good with it, y'all?
what's up, brother?
Hey, we finally got Gozy back. Now we do our 3 the hard way, Gullah. We finally got him with a real mic.
Oh yeah.
You feel me? Now we can go back 3 the hard way, yo. I was like, remember, Gullah? I said, I ain't doing no more shows till we get that damn. I'm not doing it. You know, the mic like this. What the hell is you can't hear him? Best part of the show can't even hear it. Frustrating. But go ahead, Gullah. What's up, bro? Talk to us. Talk that talk, Gullah. Talk
I
that
was gonna add into what Goza was saying. In the British colonies, you know, white people actually started. You can look it up on Wikipedia too. It actually started with the WASP, WASP, which is wealthy Anglo. You could switch the words, either wealthy or white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You know what I'm saying? Those who were the actual white people was originally in the British colonies. You know what I'm saying? If you was the wealthy Protestant Anglo-Saxon, you know what I'm saying, you were white, considered white. If you was Irish, you wouldn't even consider white at a point in time.
That's right. That's right. Italians wasn't considered white at one time. Irish wasn't considered white. A lot of European groups wasn't considered white until later on.
Italians weren't even considered whites after they created Columbus Day.
That's right. That's right. Nor were Jews considered white. And that lets you know that a lot of this stuff that we go by is bull crap, and it's based off their standards and their recognition. You know.
You know what's funny though? I like the way they did it though. Yo, let's just make something up and make this that. Let's just say the Raw Squad. Let's say the Raw Squad is the best ever, and then everybody else is trash. That's how you do it though. That's how humans do it. That's how Masi did it. That's how African kingdoms did it, yo. Especially, I love the Masi did it that way, yo. Remember,
they had
together. Go ahead, Gullah.
They had different caste systems. You know what I'm saying? Even the British, they cookie cutted their caste system, even though it was more simpler. They cookie cutted their caste system from the Spanish and Portuguese. They had the La Costa system, was more complex.
That's right.
Categories.
That's right.
Go ahead, Gutter. You cut me off. Keep going. I can go ahead.
No, that's what I was saying. I was saying that the British, you know, they copy cut it, you know what I'm saying, different caste systems. Like that's what you see all in Africa too. You know what I'm saying? Caste systems, things of that nature. Even all the way from and then too.
Can't hear you. Gutter, you gotta get it fixed. Atheist King, what's good? Talk to us.
Well, I've been on your show before. I just wanted to say, I hear that y'all are talking about race, and this bioanthropologist named Forrest Valka, he recommended a book to me that speaks about how, you know, the concept of race is really non-existent, and, you know, all it means, like, for example, your skin color is darker than mine.
Name of the book.
Race, Are We So Different? By Joseph L. Jones, Yolanda T. Moses, and Alan H. Goodman.
You say race, are we so different?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Well, it's just basically, you know, to let us know, you know, like the skin color, your skin color is darker than mine because your ancestors got exposed to UV radiation more than my ancestors. So it's not so dark people with dark skin color exist in other parts of the world, like the Himalayas. Those people are also dark skinned. That doesn't mean like all dark people come from Africa. It just means, you know, the amount of UV radiation that your ancestors got, because the bones needed to have a certain amount of boric acid in order for them to be flexible and to be able to hunt. And that's all I know. That's all I remember. It's been a while.
Yeah, that book was actually developed by the AAA, the American Anthropological Association. Race, Are We So Different?
Yes.
Let me see if I can put a link out there. That's a good read. Put that on the read now.
It's a pretty like really cheap. You find it at thrift books. Should be like less than $5.
Barnes and Nobles.
No, thrift books. THRIFT books.
Thrift. What's it called?
Thrift books.
Thrift books. Why thrift books? You just like it cheaper? What?
Well, I mean, I'm cheap. I'm $5.
Okay. Let me see. I see this. I'm pretty sure y'all might. How much is? Let me see what they got right here. Yes, they got $7 right here, hard copy. Let me share the screen with y'all. Hey, this is what it look like.
It has like a Asian person, African American person.
Yeah, it's right. I'm going to share the screen.
Okay.
You talking about this, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. I get that. Put that in the reading list. Yeah. Thank you for that gem, man. That's gonna be a good one.
Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that. Drop the link for y'all to get the book.
Yeah, I don't know if someone has a degree in bioanthropology.
We have them coming on right Sunday. I mean, my fault. Friday at 6:30. Shamaka Keita, the bioanthropologist.
Okay, I think Mandisa Thomas may also talk about these topics. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Mandisa, the atheist, the black non-believers.
Yes,
black non-believers. Yeah, but we're gonna have all right. Take a commercial break real quick. All right, Shamaka Keita, here you go. We coming on this Friday.
And I'm just trying to get an idea from what the questions I'm hearing is, what would you define then as an African?
I don't define an African or the African. There is a matrix of variability that constitutes a description of an African reality. Very different notion. The moment you start defining things with narrow terms and in particular ways, and a non-scientific, for something that's as fluid as this, is the moment that you will get into trouble, because then you're going to be forced to explain things, like I said, with typological methods or deductive methods when they don't fit. Okay?
Yeah, there you go. Man, make sure y'all hit that link, man. Get them tickets, man. Tickets $30. If you're in the server, man, you get one ticket, you're gonna get an extra ticket or two, because we want the people in the building, man, to talk about exactly what the Atheist King just brought up. And so since we got one of our very own, I think it's very, very important and valuable, man, that we pay attention to that, man. Let's listen to the great Henrik Clarke, and when he talks about the blackness. Let's see how he do this.
Of who is black and white, according to society's definition. We're black.
Oh, no, not according to Rogers' definition now. Understand, and this is the irony of it all, and this is the trap. Black people have never written any definitions of race, any definitions of what a people mean, has been. I mean, they have never said that these people with these kind of traits belong here. Because modern racism had its development in the pseudo-scientific development of intellectual Europe after the 15th century. And they began to say that certain kind of people belong to certain kind of race, and they created the concept of race and racism itself. Now, according to the laws that's still on the statute book of the United States and some other parts of the world, one drop of us makes you a whole. Now, this ridiculous law and stipulation and measurement has given black people a lot of white people according to that law. Now, it has given us Beethoven, who was called a dark Moor. Now, he was probably one of the many olive-complected Europeans that you see in the millions throughout Europe. But in the States, in the United States, they say that if you have one drop of blood of a black person, you're a whole black person. Now, by this stupid law, we have a whole lot of white people. There's a whole lot of people that think they're white that belong to us. We might claim all of South America because the Spaniards were mulattoes when they got there, having been mixed with the Moors for nearly 800 years, and they were even before the Moorish conquest. Mediterranean Europe was highly mixed with Africans. Nobody thought anything of it because they were a mixture of power and influence and trade, and they got along fairly well together for hundreds of years before they turned on each other. And I don't say it did the Europeans any harm, because the handsomest people in Europe are the olive-complected people who mix with the Africans.
You're saying, in essence, that there's no such thing as a race.
Oh, I maintain that race is the phoniest issue ever invented by the mind of man. The European invented and developed the concept of race. There's really no such thing as a race, because nature created no races. The whole race is a man-made thing, you know.
Well, how did people get to be French and English?
Well, different climatic conditions and migrations and amalgams of different people, and migrations of people into your country, migrations of people out. All right. Now, this is an ethnic grouping as against what we call race. If you go back and you look at an old dictionary, you won't even find a definition for a race. Race grew out of the pseudo-scientific development of Europe. And this is what Rogers was addressing himself to, and saying that according to your rule, which is ridiculous, a lot of you belong to us.
Well, in another context, if race is arbitrary, then could we say that being called black was a political term?
It's a political term, and
he about to cook you now. So don't be talking about goes in them, gulling them. Yo, they trying to take away our blackness. That ain't what we doing. You heard everything that man said. Look at the date. This is 1973. This is actually before the Cairo Symposium. 1974. So in 1973, we had an elder in our community who understood the damn conversation we having right now. So who hell's side you think he would have been on if he really had to sit down and have a conversation? He might have had two separate conversations. One where he was being nice to you, right? And the other when he's saying, man, they crazy as hell. They tripping. Man, he's an intellectual. Now watch this. Now, so don't blame Ngozi, don't blame me, don't do it. I'm getting this from John Henrik Clarke. I'm standing on his shoulders because the thing he said in 1973 still stands true today. Now it should be more widespread, but you know what? It's like we was running backwards or something, because if you was listening to him, we wouldn't even have to fight this daggone hard for these types of conversations. If you paid attention to him, what I realize is, and I say this all the time, most of y'all never read none of his damn books, none of them for real. Right? Y'all definitely turned off the evolution part of it, right? And all claim to love John Henrik Clarke, Dr. Ben and them. Y'all all claim it. Yeah, and ain't listening to nothing they said. So by now, you should have been promoting the things they got right and throwing away the things that they did not. Here you go. Here we go.
The term which indicates our self-awareness at this juncture in history, and I think we really need it. We need to really bathe in blackness for a while, but I wish we'd get the bath over with and go on to something a little more important, because black in itself is not an ethnic term. Black tells you how you look, but it don't tell you who you are. We are essentially an African people. Wherever we live on this earth, we're essentially an African people. And we relate to the millions of African people throughout the world, including the uncounted millions of Africans in Asia. The word Afro-American or African-American would probably be more appropriate and more honest and more in keeping with what we actually are, because all of us are not positively, physically, real jet black. And so the argument now sometimes is between the supernationalists and the mild nationalists and blacker than thou, when blackness is a state of mind, a state of attitude, a state of approach to things that can exist in almost any of us, including from the blonde black person to the jet black. And the jet black can be traitors, and they can be patriarchs. They can be a whole lot of. See, we've been everything in history from saint to buffoons. We're a complete people.
We've been everything in history from Saint to buffoon. Yeah, that's my favorite.
And that's true. That's true. You know, that's why, brother Unk, I don't know if you got something else to play. I don't want to cut the
No, no,
ring.
no, 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 no. Go
But see,
ahead.
that's why I like to go by, like, I don't get caught up in this FBA argument. You know, for me, I say FAA, Foundational African Americans, because every African American is not super dark skinned. You know, every African American is not super light skinned. But we know that every African American descent from sub-equatorial Africa or sub-Saharan Africa, and that's what bridges us together. But we all be banded as black because those people were called black. And in the pseudo idea of race, the black race, based off the standards of Blumenberg and different people, is the sub-Saharan Africans. Those are the black people, right? Regardless of what their ethnic groups are. But in the New World, all we had was this thing called black because that's what they seen us as, nigger, negro, whatever. But that's not enough calling yourself black because you are an ethnic group. I mean, you make up 12 to 14% of the United States. It's 40 million African Americans. I'm not including the small 2% of African immigrants or Black Caribbean immigrants that can also add on. But I'm talking about foundational African Americans that has been here. That is the history of the New World that was responsible all down south, went through Jim Crow, went through the Great Migration and everything before going in the North. And we have a history. We went through a creolization. We have a dialect. We have a vernacular English, which is different subsets of our English that we have from Louisiana to Chicago to Baltimore. You know, you guys say do. You know, brothers in Chicago got their own dialect. You know, all the way to a brother in Memphis talking about what I mind, what you going through, man. You know what I'm talking about? You know, it's all our vernacular of what we formed in this new world. So African American is an ethnic group within itself. So I say foundational African American. Black is not enough because all of us don't look like Wesley Snipes. You know what I'm saying? We have a history.
And I want to put a span on it too. The first African that was brought to the British colonies, they ain't even speak English. They spoke Portuguese, yo.
Of course. They spoke Portuguese, and you know, you remember the English took over them boats and knocked the Spanish and the Portuguese out the game. But
Sure
after they
did.
spoke Portuguese, after they took,
Let me read
you know,
this super chat.
go
Let
ahead.
me read this
Go
super
ahead.
chat. Kyle says they're going to listen to the elder and say what he meant was right. What he meant was, yeah, they ain't gonna listen to what that man said. He said be basking in blackness. It's time to read the next one. Get your Dr. Cater tickets. Good juju, bad juju says that.
I'm getting mine Thursday, yo.
I know y'all gonna be black, and that's what black people do. They wait to Thursday. Oh man, you know I'm gonna give you a couple tickets too, Gullah. You too, Gozy. So get a couple emails, yo. All right. Deisha, she says, man, who is that? Dolaz, who the hell is that? Dozell, am I saying it right? Donzel, who is that? Who is that? Odisha? I don't know who that is. Rachel, I don't know. I have no idea. Rochelle, I've never seen it. It's black. That's funny. I need a picture of her. Juju, somebody give me a picture of the lady. I don't know who she is. Big up to Miss Wright. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna be giving those tickets away to a couple people. We got a lot of tickets we gotta give away, man. Damn. I guess we'll do that Thursday, won't we? Be around Thursday. Thursday gonna be on fire. Yeah.
I see some brothers say that we using they talking. Some indigenous. We're not using your talk. These are not your talking points. It's just like I can say that people that say pseudo is my talking point because I'm one of the first people to bring it in the community. But that's not true. Pseudo is something that's a scientific term. It doesn't belong to nobody. So knowing about Blumenberg doesn't belong to you, bro. That's just educated people that read. And if you educated and you read, you're gonna probably come up with the same information. That's just what it is.
That's indigenous black. Yo, he tripping.
Like,
he swear he told us about. Hold on, I'm gonna get you. Watch this. He claimed he told us about man, what's it called? Nubian complex. Ain't that crazy? Ain't
Man,
ain't he crazy
we've
for
been
that?
talking about that for like 14, 13 years,
14,
man.
15 years. He
Been
tripping.
talking
Like,
about that, yo.
He
that's
tripping.
crazy.
You know you tripping. Yeah, he
He
tripping.
probably even,
You can have it though.
he probably didn't even know the Nubian complexes with partially Tyrian people. He probably didn't even know that.
Oh
Nope.
man.
He
Nope.
just thinking Nubian. That's all
He
he
just
is,
messed up
Nubian.
his whole dream, yo. He had his whole dream. Mm-mm.
It's crazy.
They gotta say it right. I tell him all the time. The first person that ever got called a pseudo was Clyde Winters, and the crazy young boy named Ngozi did it. Cussed him out live.
But
He was like, "God damn, bling bling pseudo." I'm like, "Oh, he just called that shit was funny, yo." That was
you know what, brother Unc?
what?
You know, as people that
No,
just
20. Look, 2020. No, yo, he late in the game with that. 2020, no, yo, you late in 2020, yo.
yeah.
Yeah, we've
I was
been
gonna
on the
say
same
we've been but
Yeah.
you know, it's scientific enthusiasts and people that love science and love anthropology and genetics and just studying people. You know, if you read, most people that think that's into the same thing are gonna think the same in a lot of areas and categories. It doesn't belong to anyone. You know what I'm saying? So for him to be arrogant and say things like that, I mean, I'm just entertaining it right now. I'm just entertaining it, but come on, man, it is what it is, bro.
Yeah, if he really had to talk about, he wouldn't even call himself indigenous black or whatever.
Yeah, he only understand. Yeah, he don't
We
understand
do,
it.
we
Yeah, he
do
messed
that.
that up.
We really
Yeah, he
telling
messed
y'all,
it up.
y'all low key got Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Blackness is like Toby. Y'all accepted Toby, yo, instead of Kente Kuta Kente.
The white woman who got kicked out of her entire life for claiming to be. Oh, she said that the lady who got kicked out of her entire life for claiming to be black. I think that lady was a politician. She was a white lady with curly hair, if I'm not mistaken. I think if I'm right, sister, could you tell me yes or no?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's a few white people that thought they was black and wasn't black.
Yeah, no, so that lady, yeah, it is her. She was from NAACP.
Linux
No,
4.
yeah, no, she was not black. She's not black. From the idea of the political banner or social construct of what black is, or the idea of race, even though it's not. We have to understand it's a reality, but it's not a reality. It's kind of like a confused cognitive dissonance thing, but it's a political thing. So from a political angle, no, she's not black. She's trans. She's one of those new age transracialists, right?
Yeah,
And what I'm
her
saying,
food's black.
so what I'm saying is a new age transracialist. She's not part of the pseudo or let's say standard established pseudo banner of black. The black race is people that descend from sub-Saharan Africa. That's just from the pseudo standard banner of what black is. So it's just like me saying a Puerto Rican. A Puerto Rican may have some black ancestors, but I wouldn't call a Puerto Rican black. He just has black ancestors based off that little 20 to 30% sub-Saharan African DNA that was kidnapped and brought to the part of the world. But he's not a black person. He just got black ancestry. So
What
even though it's not a reality, race is not real from a political aspect or understanding politics or social standard or norms. It's real in that sense, but it's not real from a biological angle. So no, she's not black. She's a white lady who's going through some sense of transracialism, and we know what it is, man. Some of these non-black people have fetishes for black men, and they go through some form of digitization, and it zaps their brain and makes them feel like they something else that they not. You know, it's a lot of stuff going on with that sister. She's crazy.
And I gonna say depend on the Puerto Rican too. You know, because Puerto Rico is a nationality. You got some enclaves of black people there that's full of black Puerto Ricans. You know what I'm saying? You got the
Yes,
mix, the ones more Spaniard.
yes,
You know what I'm saying? But
yes.
the most, you know what I'm saying, but the ones that put in the headlines, you know what I'm saying, then the ones got a lot more Spaniard. But there's some black, like straight up
So,
black Puerto
so,
Rican.
but I want to add on to what you're saying, Gullah. There is what's obviously black, which is what's obviously Afro-Latino, and the larger mestizo or Criollos or larger high Mediterranean European. So when you're in Puerto Rico, everybody's not Afro-Latino, even though all Puerto Ricans got some sub-Saharan African DNA. But when you look at what's obvious Afro-Latino, you got a lot of island hoppers too. An obvious Afro-Latino is like the sister Jocelyn, they're from Love and Hip Hop, or different groups of people, or Lala.
Yeah,
Those are
like
Afro.
Pluto.
Those are
Yeah.
Afro-Puerto Ricans who, I'm sure if they took a DNA test, they range at between 54 to not even a full 60%, and some of them can even be higher of sub-Saharan African DNA. That's what's surface or what's obviously Afro-Latino. But when we look at people like Ricky Martin or Jennifer Lopez or the man, those people are not Afro-Latinos. Those people are Puerto Ricans. You know what I'm saying?
They more they call them Portos or mosquitoes and mulattoes.
So it's real crazy. So it's the same thing with the Egyptians. The Egyptians, as a nationality, they are not black people, but every Egyptian have what's obviously surface black blood. If you look at the DNA composition of the average Egyptian, they range from 15 to 20% sub-Saharan African DNA. It depends on the region that they're in. If you go to the north, it's at 11%. And what is the sub-Saharan layer? If you split that up, they have an old autochthonous layer from very ancient times that was already blurred with the Natufian population that came in a long time ago, right? So that arranged in a certain lane. Then you have the trans-Saharan slave trade that gave them an 8% sub-Saharan African increase. Those sub-Saharan Africans came from the trans-Saharan slave trade from imports from Central and West Africa, compared to that old Nilotic Moda element that's been there. So Egyptian may be mixed with some black, or what we know as black, but they are not black people. They have a fixed history that's been going on between the Levant and them for the last 23,000 years. But an element of what's identified or bannered as black has always played a role in the region. Not as a majority, but it was always blurred in some type of way. Even Sudan in the north was extended. It was an extension of Egyptian territory. So we cannot deny those Nubian South, right, which is not the majority, but the Nubian South is not being part of the Egyptian populations. Egyptian is not based off of color. It's not based on, you know what I'm saying? It's not. But those people are not black, even though they all have some black in them. You know, I wouldn't call them black.
I don't know. I'm not. Y'all playing with the word black now. I ain't doing all that.
You go to Colombia, you know what I'm saying?
I ain't going that route, Gozy, at all. I understand what you're saying, but now if you're gonna introduce black into it, then watch this game. I'm gonna play with you. That's how I want to do.
Go ahead.
Get out of this, Gozy. I'm gonna do this.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna get Crania Egyptitos. Crania Egyptos. Craniogyptos. Let's see what they have to say in Craniogyptos. Oh, do I think I got it right here? Hold on now. I think I might have Craniogyptos right here. Hold on. Watch this. I'll read something to y'all. All right. That's how we're going to do this. Let's play with the black for a minute. That's how we're going to do it. That's what everybody gets stuck at. They get stuck in the black. I'm gonna stick y'all right in the black. Watch this. Hold on. Watch this. I'm gonna do this. Go ahead, Gozy. I'm gonna find a source for you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. So I wanted to say what I mean by this is from populations. I'm gonna focus on, we understand based off that we know that race is a social construct and the political banner of what's black and what's white, right? But I'm saying if we play the game of politics, the populations that was like from the South, that were Nilotic, that was Moda, or old Saharic populations, they played a major role in they played a role in what happened in the Nile. But you also had a large influx of Natufian-like population that has been crossing into Egypt for a very long time. I mean, they even went through a sense of just not sexual selection, but it breeding with those old ancestral North Africans, but there has been parallel evolution. You have post-Natufian populations that's related to pre-Proto Neolithic groups, you know, who are already going into certain layers of the Nile. But what I'm saying is that when you look at a Natufian, you would no one to call a Natufian black, because they would have been considered black. But when you look at, I'm talking about from a social standard, right? From whatever we say. But when you look at a Nubian or a Nilotic or a Moda, you're going to say that they're black people, you know, those people from the South, even though we know that those are social constructs. But from a regional aspect and understanding the people groups that made up Egypt, this is what you see in Egypt. You find Neolithic Levantine populations or Epipaleolithic Levantine populations already going backwards and forth in Egypt for a very long time, probably since the Cambrian groups. You find the Helfling groups crossing all the way up from the south to north, going up there until you have the Kumayenin groups that's already mingling in there. Then you get into Jebel Sahaba when you find Eastern Saharic populations going over there. And then you have this other group who's very close to Eastern Ibero-Maurutians called Mushabians, who are already highly admixed with Zutzana, who have strong affinities to ancient West Eurasian populations or West Asian populations that crossed into North Africa a very long time ago. So, but when you look at those people, not the people that's obviously what's described as black, like Nilotics or Moda people, those type of people. But when you look at those other people, they fall in line with people in like Socotra or people in Yemen. Because, for example, like even when you look at, you got the information, Brother Uncle, about the Badarians and the Tajans. It said, I think 6% was Negroid, the other group was intermediate, and the other group was something else. So the intermediate group falls in line with the classification of Ethio-Somali or early Epipaleolithic West Asian populations that fell in line in that group, compared to what's obviously Negro. Even though I'm just basing it off the craniometrics of what's been found, not from a real angle of race. That's all I'm saying.
It's gonna be mixed, but you can have a tropical selected skull, but when you look at the skin on the outside, you know what I'm saying, you like, oh, this is, you know what I'm saying, it's obviously don't qualify as a black dude, but he still got the limb proportions be tropical.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He might have some that's Mediterranean adapted mixed in there. You know what I'm saying? That's why you still might see a dude that look, but these people call like Arab or Middle Eastern looking. You know what I'm saying? They still might have a wide nose and some thick lips, and still have other features along with it. You know what I'm saying?
Also to add on, we gotta look at what happened with out of Africa population. I mean, that was a strong bottleneck that occurred, even with populations that diverged from ancestral East Africans going back 100-some-thousand years ago. The Tyrians making it to North Africa 159,000 years ago. I'm talking about modern anatomically correct humans. I'm not talking about Jebel Ahud, which is archaic phases of us, but I'm talking about modern anatomically correct humans that drift from out of East Africa, going to North Africa. One group of these people become the ancient Central West African hunter-gatherers. The other group keep going north until you find the Tyrian people. And even they went through a sense of a bottleneck through time. You got to remember, if it's an ice age in Europe, there's a drought in North Africa. So a lot of these people found refugium when that drought happened in North Africa. They found refugium in the Sahel belt. A lot of these people diverged in the Sahel belt going south. That's why they found those flint tools in Senegal that go back 20-some thousand years that survived. But those flint tools are older in older Tyrian populations where you find the remnant. This population is the same population that left out of Africa and became non-African populations around 100,000 years ago. And they're finding that they left out through the Sinai. So the humans who were basal Eurasian that split at base from old ancestral North Africans, they were already African-like. So when you go to these, like when you look at the people in Arabia and you look at their DNA in that large chunk that's so-called Natufian hunter-gatherer, even though they have a Neolithic Iranian component, which gives them paternal lineage of J, autosomally, the signals are very African-like. So you can have tropical limb proportions, but we have to also understand body breaths. So people can adapt. That's why we have to look at certain layers of the Levant and Arabia as Greater Africa, because it played a role with the entrance and exit zone for human populations for a very long time, compared to the populations that we see that now. The Arabian people, not their overall DNA composition, but it's very African-like from the earlier phase that drifted out of Africa a long time ago, autosomally speaking. But it's not that compared to the people in the Levant who has a high level of Neolithic Levantine, have a high level of Holocene Iranians who kept coming back in the Bronze Age, which is called the overall DNA composition shift. It gets real tricky. So that Egypt area has always been a transit zone, which is a transcontinental country, for Homo sapiens for a very long time. And we have to appreciate the mutations.
Yeah, them was like Latin America before it was Latin America. This is the different type of people with different clients coming to, you know what I'm saying, meet up and in the mix with each other.
All right, here's a funny thing right here, man. This is Samuel Morton, right? And he talks about the Nubians being Negroes. You see it. Okay? Negro countries. The Berbers says he are of dark red-brown complexion, which if you see the mother is a slave from Abyssinia, becomes light brown in the children. And if from the Negro countries, extremely dark, their features are not at all those of the Negroes. It says the face being oval, the nose often perfectly Grecian, and the cheekbones not prominent. It said the upper lip, however, is somewhat thicker than is considered beautiful amongst the northern nations. He's talking about the Egyptians, right? Some kind of way he's gonna say what's beautiful to the Egyptians. It say though it is still far from the Negro lip, their hair is bushy and strong, but not woolly. See? So you talking about the
Yes.
Egyptians having bushy hair. I'm just telling you, it's wow how they dove in the thing. They're
Yes.
mixing it up. That's
And they
what's
still
funny about it.
and
That's
they still look
crazy.
and they still look like that. The Egyptians still look like that. When you go over there to this day, they have that olive brown skin and they have bushy hair. They don't have straight silky hair. They have certain features. I mean, they still look. You got a few of them with straight hair because it happens. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But they're just as African. They're just as African that adapted to their portion of the continent as a Nigerian that adapted to his portion of the continent. But because of African diversity, we don't want to confuse the people when we say that the Egyptian is African. The Egyptians have their own traits that falls in line with their region of Africa in the Levant, and Nigerians have their signatures that's adapted to their regions. We are Africans, but there's a distinction based off the diversity of the continent. You know what I'm saying? So when we look at those Africans with those thin features, straight hair, whatever, that's a trait that they have in their region that's based off their history and time and phases that they've been through, and that belongs to that portion of Africa. Compared to us coming from Igbo land or ancient Oyo or Nigeria or Mali, we look the way we look for a specific reason. And even with us in the New World in North America, we look the way we look for a certain reason. Most of us is running around here 15 to 30% Northwestern European. So we have our own level of creolization that occurred that makes us what we look like because we have a history and a story. We are our own ethnic group at this time. It's amazing.
Some
Samuel,
of us is categorized as African American can blend in with a damn Berber, with an Amazon. For real.
Yeah, it's history. It's amazing.
So Samuel Morton, ethnology, American School of Ethnology. It says Samuel Morton is often thought of as the originator of the American School of Ethnology. It says a school of thought in the antebellum America and American science that claimed the difference between humans was one of species rather than variety, and is seen by some as the origin of scientific racism. Morton claimed the Bible supported the polygenism. Y'all know what it is, like more than one poly, okay, more than one origin. And working in the biblical framework, his theory stated that each race had been created separately and each was given a specific what is this? Vocabulary characteristics. I'm saying it wrong. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Characteristics. So wait, let me get this straight. I think this is important right here. I want to get this right. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Hold on. Wait. The polygenism. All right. Coming from a biblical standpoint of view, remember how we talk about the transition from religion to science? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And how Charles Darwin, he was afraid to actually promote his theory because he didn't want to embarrass his family. All right. Now, with Darwin and them, they believe in monogenesis. Okay. Because they felt like God created one human. All right. And so out of this was the framework that he used to form his quote unquote scientific theory. Now, but out of the framework of polygenesis, this is the framework that Morton used to create his ideas based around race. But what did he use? He used the skulls from Africa. This is important. And that's why I put the book up right here. Hold on. Cranial Egyptica. Hold on. It's right here. All right. Cranial Egyptica. All right. You see the skulls, right? All right. Different drawings. All right. And this is where they developed the true Negro. Okay. All right. This is where they start talking about the Negro. Hold on, let me go so y'all know what I'm talking about. Hold on 1 second. We're gonna get back to that real quick. Just want to show you how they was doing it. All right. All right. They was giving you different groups. All right. How many people it was? They was actually taking these measurements, the whole 9 yards, bro. All right. And they thought they was doing a thing, but it was all just mumble jumble at the end of the day. Hold on. Let me get back up here. All right. There you go. All right. This is in 1844. Okay. All right. Y'all can see that, right? Hold on 1 sec.
I think the sound went out. I can't hear nothing.
My fault. Okay. So I was saying I can't imagine the world looking at humans only through the lens of religion, but that's what they was. Okay. All right. And so when we get down here, all right, they start to talk about the characteristics, irreplicable. I always mess that word up. Irreplicable, right? Characteristics, you know what I'm saying? This is based off their religion, man. All right, see, biblical framework. They all had that biblical framework. Charles Darwin was the one, he definitely broke out the mold. But what's important right here, the point I want to really make it clear, right? It's hard to imagine humans not having science to understand their humanities. So at this point in time, they was really looking at the world through the biblical lenses, which is wild as I don't know what.
Through mythology.
Say it again.
They look through the lens of mythology.
Right. I mean, the world now. I'm not saying that the whole world was Christians or Muslims or Jews. I'm saying that when you would go to South Africa amongst the indigenous people, they would look through the world through their mythology. If you come to the Native American population, they said they was always here, but it was based off their mythology. If you go to West Africa, Central Africa, if you go to Australia, those indigenous people, they look through the lenses of their mythology. It's the Europeans that thought they didn't have mythology and thought they had the real creation of all humans and place that on everybody. But in the true sense, it's like today. We're looking through it through their mythology.
Mythology the whole time. Cause look what Christianity come from. It come from a Middle Eastern mythology that got carried on through the Roman roads.
That's right.
It became you know what I'm saying, popular. It became the state religion. You know what I'm saying?
State
same
way
the Egyptians when Akhenaten created, you know what I'm saying, the 10, you know, stuff, or even Amun, you had different religions, but you know what I'm saying, Ra was the state religion. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, you know what's interesting is that the biblical narrative from a real historic angle has nothing to do with black people or white people or people from Africa directly or people from Europe, because the northern groups of Europe, they got Christianity from the Romans. The Romans created a lot of Roman provinces up there. Even when I look at white people or anybody celebrate, or so-called white people celebrate St. Patrick's Day, St. Patrick probably was a Roman, an Italian, who was part of British Roman province when he went into Ireland, and they celebrating them. But what I'm saying is that when you really study it, Prophet Ibrahim or Abraham, whether you believe in him or not, this is an Iranian man going through the Levant. The three sons of Noah, these are all Iranian people, and that helped create the narrative of the Hamito-Semitic race, which believed that a group of people from the Near East, near Iran, went into Africa and became the fathers of them. And this is the Hamitic race. And the Hamitic race is the pseudo thing with the blacks who have that thin nose and thin features, who dominated over the more robust Negroid type people. So if you really follow it from that biblical narrative, Not even the Bible. When it talks about Africans, it's talking about you. Because the Hamitic race is based off Berbers or Ethio-Somali looking people with aquiline features. It's really pathetic, bro. It's really pathetic.
Yeah, they ain't talking about you. It's funny, yo. Crazy, right?
Yeah, this guy, I see him all the time. He talks about the STRs. He talks about how alleles, yes, certain short tandem repeats or what's being ran, certain alleles is responsible for skin color. No one's talking about that. Like SLC245 that exists on chromosome 15 for humans that have the mutation for fairer skin. What does that mean? Yes, the Egyptians seen what they seen. They showed the Nubians as being super dark or red, and they showed people from the Middle East having a certain color, and they showed the Libyans a certain color. What does that mean? What are you trying to say?
When the Nubians was mixed, they damn said the Nubians was mixed with Northeastern was mostly Cushitic Beja type groups, and they was mixed with Nilo-Saharians. People was mixed too.
Yeah, definitely they were mixed. So I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to say.
They mixed with Cushitic groups because Cushitic groups was highly mixed, coming out of that, you know what I'm saying, Afro-Asiatic speaking, you know what I'm saying, cultural continuum.
And what's the major element? And what's the major element to the mixture of what forms a Cushitic, proto-Nilotic motor and Natufian-like signals that were drifted down there? Who was responsible for becoming the Cushitic people? The same people that was overwhelmingly flooded in Egypt. So when you go to Egypt from the Delta all the way down, you're gonna find signals that matches with people from Neolithic Libertines. And part of Nubia had those same signals. That's like when they looked at the hair sample of the ancient Nubian 4,000 years ago, the layers match with Natufians. So this is what give the standard of what the Ethio-Somali look like, or the Berbid, or the North African Levantine look. It has a shared history already with Epipaleolithic Levant that's been going backwards and forth for a very long time. That's just what it is.
Man, look what the people was doing. They was trading around and cultivating wheat and barley. You only can grow wheat and barley up into the Ethiopian highlands in North Africa. You can't grow wheat and barley when you get into the savannas and, you know what I'm saying, the woodland savanna areas. You only can grow wheat and barley in cool regions, temperate regions.
Pan-African James is so entertaining to me. When he say,
He won't hit that panel. Yeah,
he's not gonna hit the pan. He's gonna bring up Neanderthal but then when you hit him with the Ibero-Maurutians had Neanderthal in them, he don't have nothing to say. He keep focusing on Neanderthal. But these Ibero-Maurutians, based off the fossils that's been found, that goes back 15,000 years, had Neanderthal signals in them. Why are you denying that, bro?
Neanderthal James won't hit that panel. Oh, he won't hit that panel. Oh, what tango where we weave when we practice to deceive. Oh, so yeah, that's my point here. And if you scroll on down here, his research on ancient Egyptians was meant to show that the racial hierarchy had always existed and should remain in place. When confronted with the evidence that many ancient Egyptians had dark skin like other Africans, Morton used skull measurements to collaborate the words of George Curver. All right. Wherever may have been the hue of their skin, they belong to the race white without cells. Yeah, digging in Egypt and start finding them dark-skinned people. Yo, it was funny. I wanted to let y'all know that, yeah, this is the fall of the scientific racism. Yo, the study of Egypt was the start of scientific racism. Did y'all know that? Interesting. The scientific racism with playing around with African skulls. Goodness gracious. Y'all look up this guy right here, George Curver. Not to be confused with Carver. Interesting right there. Aside from occasionally dark-skinned Caucasian ruling class, Morton's skull measurements led him to admit Negroes were, here you go, look, this is the one y'all need to hear. And this for you goes when you talk about how there's a signature, right, in there of black people, right? I don't use the word black people when talking about ancient populations because it wouldn't fit. But he said the Negroes. It said, aside from an occasionally dark-skinned Caucasian ruling class, Morton's skull measurements led him to admit Negroes were numerous in Egypt, but their social position, this is how they throw you out, but their social position in ancient times was the same that is now. That is now is that of servants and slaves.
Making it up.
Making it up.
That's and that's a problem, and that's
I
why we
want
have
y'all
to.
to see it.
Yes, and that's a
Mm.
and that's a problem. You know, I was on Twitter a few months ago, and they found Naslet Carter up there, and when they was talking about the reconstruction of Naslet Carter, they talked about his features were. If you look at what they said his features. This is 34,000 years ago, and Naslet Carter was morphologically similar to Negroes, but it was very close to Paleolithic Europeans. But we know that Paleolithic Europeans look totally different than modern Europeans, right? So they said his features was Negroid and intermediate in between. The first thing a racist, it was a racist North African on there. He said in a tweet, I wonder if he was a slave, because they found him in a mountain with axes showing that he was working up there, right? And they said they wondered if he was a slave, like having those features make you a slave.
Yeah, that's what, remember Karakuni said that, remember?
Yeah, that's ignorant. That's stupid.
But no. But okay, but they not they doing the same thing we do. They placing a modern notion on ancient population.
Well, if that's the case, if we go back to Europe, 35.
You get my point though, right?
Yeah, I get you. But if we go back to Europe,
because them black is a slave. Remember that?
Yeah,
but Egyptian culture now, you're a slave.
Absolutely. But here's the thing about how we fact check them. If we go back to humanity, humans are a tropical species. We all know that. And when Homo sapiens derived and started to leave out of Africa, if I take you back 70,000 years, most of these humans look very tropical adapted. I wouldn't say that they were morphologically close to what humans in sub-Saharan Africa look like now, but I wouldn't say that they look exactly like people groups in sub-Saharan Africa now. But Homo sapiens develop in sub-equatorial zones. If we understand radiation, the more mutations for any organisms. So when these naked apes went up the Nile and they left out dark skin. And they didn't look like modern people in Europe or nowhere else today. So if I go back to Europe 45 to 50,000 years, humans only made it to Europe 45 to 48,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago. But if I take you up there, the Europeans at that time looked nothing like the Europeans today. So will we say that they were slaves? Because they had robust features? That's stupid.
It's funny. Watch this. Morton's scholarship greatly contributed to Egyptology and several other disciplines, adopting the Hermetic hypothesis. Y'all know what it is. It says the idea that civilization is, I think this is antithetical to Negroes, meaning opposed to Negroes. Like we don't create civilizations to Negroes. And watch this, and the legacy of the Caucasian race, such that any evidence of civilization in Africa must have derived from Caucasian presence or influence. Morton's skull collection was held at the Academy of Natural Sciences of Philadelphia until 1966, when it was transferred to the Penn Museum, where it is presently curated. They got ancestors of people in the damn museums. I'm telling you. So y'all worrying about, trying to be this and trying to be that. Well, so we didn't circumnavigate the globe. So what? Right? We obviously we didn't have a reason to do it. Gozi tells you we stay in Africa for 350,000 years. So it's a vast place. You act like it was millions and billions of people during that time. It was not.
That's right.
So Africa was vulnerable for the Homo sapiens trying to get through that. Get that straight. Navigating the rivers with the West African river barges, that was technology suited for them.
That's right.
Okay, it's important. You try to make intelligence, you're messing it up, right? Because it don't make sense if it don't make sense. You get that? I mean, if it don't bring food, clothing, and shelter, it don't make sense. Hell, Europeans bumped into the Americas. They ain't drive straight to the Americas. Y'all tripping. Bumped into it by happenstance.
And you know what's interesting? Yep.
So let me finish this point. The point I want to close out on is this is essential to the study of Egypt, because even in him trying to play, he shows the diversity of the Egyptians. You get my point, Gozi?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, right there with the skulls. He just called some Negroes, he called them Caucasians, because he was saying a lot of different mixture. You know what I'm saying? And it was just crazy. But then he does what? changes his mind. Changes his mind. Look, his evolving views of the race in Egyptians. See, that's why we argue. Y'all never gonna be able to get it if you understand evolution. They couldn't get it. Samuel Morton believed that the Nile Valley in both Egypt and Sudan was originally populated, look, by a branch of Caucasian race. What? Furthermore, he considered the Copts as being a mixed community derived from Caucasians and Negroes. Huh? And a large portion of them can be regarded as mulattoes. Morton wrote that Egyptian fellas are the lineal and least mixed descendants of the ancient Egyptians. He originally believed the modern Nubians are mixed race of Arabs and Negroes and are not descendants of the monumental Ethiopians, like monuments, the monumental Ethiopians. Look at that, mixing it all up. He just because he thinking race. He thinking that's how you supposed to look. Morton later addressed several letters to George Gittins. Y'all know who George Gittins is. He was an English American Egyptologist, also super racist, right? He said and stated. So now he writing to his friends. He said and stated that he modified many of his old views on ancient Egypt, believing them to be similar to the Barbara, northern Nubian populations, but not the Negroes. Okay. He wrote 1846, February. I'm more than confirmed in my old sentiment that Northern Africa was peopled by an indigenous and aboriginal people who was disopposed by Asiatic tribes. These aboriginals could not have been Negroes because the latter were never adapted to the climate and are nowhere now, nor ever have been inhabitants of these latitudes. Where were they? Berberus or some better race, more nearly aligned to the Arabian race. In another letter to Gittins in December 14th, 1849, by the hands of my person to whom you confined them, I last night received. So now he changing stuff. All right. He getting chronologies, letters from other people. Okay. All right. And they starting to change his position. The same way y'all argue and fight over that, they was going through the same thing. And this is the father of scientific racism changing his daggone mind. This is good. You want to say something, Go, before I keep going? Go ahead. Because I know you be in and out. Where you at?
Hold on. I'm right here. Hold on.
Go ahead.
I actually agree with the second letter when he said that I don't want to look at it from a racial angle, but when he talked about the Arabian population or the ancient West Asian population, you know, the black African, I don't want to say black, I'm trying to use it in the most organized way that I can. Humans that were tropical adapted went through North Africa a long time ago. And they also went through their own genetic drift and their own bottlenecks that occurred. That's distinct from people that stayed in sub-equatorial zones of East Africa, right? Mm-hmm. And the Southwest Asian hunter-gatherers who were pre-Arabian hunter-gatherers who are being labeled as Natufians already was finding refuge backwards and forth in the Nile for a very long time. So those segments were aboriginal. Anything between Egypt and the Levant had shared affinity for a very long time, especially in the Epipaleolithic phase. We can also see that with the Ibero-Maurusians, who were 60% Zuzana and 40% ancestral North African. At this time, the population already had very deep shared history with people groups that was in the Levant that also diverged from old ancestral North Africans, but went through a bottleneck, went through their slight changes, went through their own genetic drifts, and found their way back in, which makes them autochthonous or indigenous to those portions that's been shared for a very long time between North Africa and the early Epipaleolithic phase of the Levant. You see a larger major shift with those people groups in the Bronze Age when you find these Iranian populations and those are pre-Armenian like and Iranian populations from the Lesser Caucasus starting to find their way back in, starting at 6,500 years ago, and having a population turnover over the post-Natufian groups. And the post-Natufian groups already went through a shared affinity with Natufian-like populations who were sharing affinity with populations in southern Turkey, which formed the pre-Proto Neolithic culture. But later, you have those post-Iranian groups in the Bronze Age, and then especially even in the Chalcolithic, which is the Copper Age, that started to come over into the Bronze Age, which started to find more and more. That's why in the Egyptian population, based off, I don't want to keep talking, I just want to say this, based off the PCAs that they're using in
Your phone died out. Went out, bad area. All right, I stopped right here last night. Right? So this is the second letter in 1849. Okay. And I think I stopped somewhere right here. Last night I received Lepsius chronologies. So I said they were sending things, right? It says, and the 10 case of facsimile. Y'all know what a facsimile drawings. A facsimile is the direct copy from the original. It said, these then studied in connection with the Egyptian heads, skulls, and especially with the small series sent me from Memphis. It says, by your brother Williams, 17 in number and very ancient. It say, compel me to recant so much of my published opinions as respect to the origin of the Egyptians. Watch this. He says, they never came from Asia, but are indigenous and aboriginal inhabitants of the Nile Valley. I'm going to say this again. They never came from Asia, but are the indigenous or aboriginal inhabitants of the valley of the Nile. I have taken this position in my letter to Mr. J.R. Bartlett. All right. Every day has verified it, and your drawings settle it forever in my mind. It has cast me a mental struggle to acknowledge this conviction, but I can withhold it no longer. Man, Joe, he just changed his position. He said they're indigenous Africans, yo. All right. You allude in another letter to getting again. He said you allude, right, to my altered views in ethnology, but it as consists in regarding the Egyptian race as the indigenous people of the valley, the Nile, not Asiatic in any sense of the word. Okay. He was clear with it. Right? But uncroftness of the country. He's saying they in the country. That's what it is. They indigenous to the country. Right? And the authors of their own civilization. Simple as that, yo. He said they indigenous, man. They indigenous to that. But he still want to call him Caucasian. Wild guy right there. This view with you, okay, will recollect is that of Champollion. So Champollion also said it. All right. Herein and others, accepting only that they do not apply the words indigenous to the Egyptians. In no wise conflicts with their Caucasian position, for the Caucasian group had many premortal centuries, of which the Egyptians present one. So he was saying they were black Caucasians, indigenous to Africa. Why was he saying that? Because he was saying it because they just didn't know. In their eyes, right? They thought they was looking at something that could be possibly Caucasian, right? Didn't look the way they thought an African was supposed to look like, but they had to recognize that these people are indigenous, though. Regardless, no matter how they looked, they were still indigenous to the area. Man. Yeah, he was saying he was Africans, man. You know what you're talking about. They on the continent of Africa and they indigenous to Africa. So how is he not saying they African? Come on, man. Come on, bro. We gotta stop that, man. Yeah. Yep. Egyptian race as indigenous people to the valley. That's what he said. He said they not Asiatics, bro. I mean, I ain't gonna argue with you, man. It's right there for you to see. You don't got to want to see it. It says, my later investigation have confirmed me in the opinion that the Valley of the Nile was inhabited by an indigenous race before the invasion of the Hamites and other Asiatic nations, and that this primordial people who occupied the whole northern Africa bore much of the same relation to the Berbers or Barbara tribes of Nubia. See, here you go. Read this again. He said, who occupied the whole northern Africa bore much the same relation to the Berber or the Barbara tribes of Nubia that the Zoroastrians of the Middle Ages bore, right, to where wandering and untaught yet conjugate brethren, the Bedouin of the deserts. Simple as that, bro. So if they're in Africa and they're indigenous to that area, that's what it was. He was basically saying they was Caucasian Africans. Crazy. Boy, they would not leave that alone, boy. They would not leave that alone. That's very interesting right there. Crazy. Well, yeah, that's the father of scientific racism. That's the whole thing. I put that in there. Y'all can read that. Yeah. I mean, come on, Bantu Power, man. This is an 18-something, man. You gotta stop that. That's what y'all gotta do, man. Y'all tripping. Y'all wild out. Gullah, where you at?
I'm right here, bro.
Yeah, that's a wild letter right there, ain't it, yo?
Yeah, that's real wild, bro.
It showed the confusion, right? It showed they was getting mixed up.
Yeah,
it's crazy. He changed that shit though. He said they're indigenous to that area, yo. So now you saying so they crazy. Now the Caucasian indigenous to Africa. It's funny, yo.
Yeah.
Where they was looking, right? He was feeling like the way they scars be shaping, they should be looking like they should be Europeans, but they wasn't. Nah. Yeah, and that should be a look into what we should understand. Just because you say a person they look European don't mean they ain't indigenous Africans. That's a good point right there.
Yeah.
They couldn't wrap their mind around that back then. Mm-hmm. Come on, Pan-African. Yo, if they ain't, hey, Gullah, if I say to you, these people are indigenous to Africa, what does that mean? Androgynous. What does that mean, yo? To Africa, to an area. What that mean?
I mean, what them people were, you know what I'm saying? They adapted to the area. Even if you got migrating groups, you know what I'm saying? The mix happened there. You know
it happened there. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
People move around. You know what I'm saying?
That's a fact, yo. People move around. They stay for thousands of years. You ain't even been in America for daggone 200 years. But so let me finish off with this real quick. Right?
I would say even the Bantu expansion reshaped Africa in a whole different cultural way. When it did. You know what I'm saying?
It did.
Genetic too.
It did. All right, here you go. Samantha K.
And I'm just trying to get an idea from what the questions I'm hearing is, I mean, what would you define then as an African?
I don't define an African or the African. There is a matrix of variability that constitutes a description of an African reality. Very different notion. The moment you start defining things with narrow terms and in particular ways, and a non-scientific, for something that's as fluid as this, is the moment that you will get into trouble, because then you're going to be forced to explain things, like I said, with typological methods or deductive methods when they don't fit. Okay? 60% is the corresponding value for a variable once cherished by physical anthropologists, namely the cephalic index. And he goes on to talk about serological traits that also are highly variable, aspects of fingerprints that are highly variable. These are the classical traits that anthropologists used at one time. Some still do. Of course, now we have DNA. and DNA diversity is also known to be extremely great in Africa. He asked the following questions, though. He says, confronted with such a wide variation in biological characters in the native populations of sub-Saharan Africa, and to be frank with the stereotyped idea that most of us have about what a true African looks like, one is inclined to ask whether all of this diversity originated in sub-Saharan Africa. If not, how much of it was the result of gene flow, that is to say, admixture or migration into the area? I don't know what you mean by Mediterranean, but let me repeat myself.
African.
No, well, there's more than one way to be African. There's more than one way to look African. There's more than one way to look Asian. There's more than one way to be Asian. That is what you have to, from my perspective as an evolutionary biologist, that's what you have to get your arms around. The people in southern India are just as Asian as the people in northern China, who are just as Asian as the people from the Eurasian steppes. You know, they don't look alike. And you measure them, they don't look alike.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me put it another way. For example, you have Elizabeth Taylor playing Cleopatra.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
When did that sort of look into Egypt?
The thing is that, number one, who was Cleopatra?
I'm asking you.
Well, what I'm saying, Cleopatra was probably a Macedonian. Well, she was a Macedonian.
From near Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. When did people that look like that go into Egypt?
Please. Well, but I'm trying to have you understand that they are carrying genealogically, in terms of their male ancestry at least, they're carrying something that ties them to the rest of the continent and does not tie them to Europe, even though physically, externally, you may say, well, gee, they look like Europeans. You understand what I'm saying? So when you ask me, when did X, we don't use those concepts of Mediterranean race, Alpine race, Nordic race, all that's from another era. You know, it's descriptive, and in actual fact, you will find, you can find individuals all over the world who might conform to one of those sort of categories. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So then,
that's the same thing they say about being Arab. Arab is a culture, not a race. It means traveling person.
Okay, but I'm trying to understand, what are you asking me here? Well, you asked me very specifically. You asked me, when did Mediterranean people get to Egypt? I don't know what you mean by Mediterranean. But let me in Dogon, other Africans, in other words, this little thing is called a septoaperture. It's felt to be a genetic trait. When you do an analysis of frequencies on this trait, you find out the Badarians, 50% of the individuals, it's a very small sample here, had at least one of these septoapertures from Cargoasis during the Coptic period, 55%. Other Egyptians from Lisht, should be Lisht, 43%. The Somali, 52%. Japanese, Ainu, 11 to 15%. Quote-unquote American Negroes, you can tell this is from an old paper, 18%. Whites born in the USA, 5.2%. Anyway, what this is saying is Northeast Africans and North Africans have a high percentage of this septoaperture, Wadi Halfa, Jebel Sahaba, and also the material that Alison Brooks found down in Zaire that's 25,000 years old. They're with.
And there you have it right there, man. It's going down Friday, man. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation, man. You got any closing words, Gullah?
Man, shoot, through the harder way, man. Shit.
Yeah.
Get it cracking again.
Yeah, we're going to get that cracking again, man. Talk that talk, man. I see y'all in the chat having fun, man, doing y'all thing. Yeah. Man, let me see what we got here as we close out. All right. Righty. Boom. All right. So yeah, man. Hit them tickets, man. I see y'all starting to get them, man. Yeah. Appreciate everybody coming through, man. We doing our thing like we supposed to, man. It's gonna be a powerful interview. Make sure y'all get y'all tickets early. It's filling up. Appreciate the support, man. We want to make sure the brother have a good time, man. It's a great interview. It's going to be the start of something big for us on this channel. All right, so we just stay tuned. We're working out the kinks, man. Getting it right, man. Appreciate everybody coming through. And yeah, man, it's serious, man. And hell, if we don't do it, who's going to do it, bro? If we don't talk about it like this, who's going to talk about it like this, bro? We don't have good interviews for y'all. Who else gonna do it, man? They're gonna have a whole bunch of foolery. Y'all know it, man.
Black African power. What's good? What's happening? A well-organized lie. A well-organized lie. Defeats a disorganized truth every time. Woo-hoo-wee.
A pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling. Who do you believe in? People bringing misinformation when that information ain't disinformation. That's disinformation. Gotta know the difference in information. Get information with the pseudo killer army hunting pseudo. Cause you gotta train your mind to fight against them pseudo judo. People with the scholarship salute, we give them kudos. But the people with that look of shit, we look and see straight through those like telescope. If you ain't speaking fast, we gotta tell them folks and let them know the truth of. You bringing malinformation to blast, then you the Ku Klux. Like say, don't talk me to death, bro, what the proof of? Good juju chillin', why you wanna go way bad juju Shalom boy got the tank in the cut. I'm in Sosa world plotting on the kick though with Kent. Come in Tiffany gave me the pseudo names on the list and said went and got the low. Anthony got him in the scope, Gullah and Gozy. Make sure DNA ain't a problem for them folks. Cause a pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. Pseudo gon' die, they saw a pseudo killer, I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey. I'm a pseudo killer, intellectual sunsling, hey.
We're not attacking individuals. We're attacking the information and attacking the methodology. This is long time coming right here. Let them know that we right there, running neck and neck with all other communities. We will not be left behind.
Pseudo killers. Yeah. Yeah, Fontaine. Friday, the rubber meets the road. I see Pan-African James is in there messing it up once again. He asks iSonic, is there a thing as a non-African in science? It absolutely is. But it ain't what you think it is. Because humanity is African. But yet you have African and non-African. But non-African doesn't mean that they're not African. Non-African is simply talking about where certain mutations occurred outside of the continent of Africa, which is the arbitrary line drawn by map makers. So it ain't like you take 5 steps and you're in Asia and you're no longer African. But in science, we say non-African just to give you a directional of where certain mutations may have occurred. Boy, I tell you, man, we keep lighting them up around here, man. Look, tickets $30. Man, go check out the bioanthropologist, man. Have your questions ready, man. Get ready for the daggone interview, and it's going to be hot. Got a couple special things coming, man. I appreciate all support, man. Get the tickets while they're hot. I appreciate you. I'm your host, Brother Ankh. Like and subscribe, man. We almost at 4,000 subscribers. We're making our way back slowly but surely. Man, get your thing right, man. Science is undefeated. And with that, we out.